Hi everyone, Materim here again with another narrative battle. This one has the Dwarfs of Clan Odhein taking on the Demons of Chaos in a 2,500 point battle, and we're using the Darkest Depths rule from the new Nagash supplement to replicate an underground battle in the Dwarven holds. So, should be fun. We'll get to see how those new rules work out and have a good game. It had been slow going, sweeping the tunnels outside the stronghold's entrance. Luckily, Prince Gorn Odheim had been having a string of luck. What goblins and other denizens of the tunnel that stayed were easily cut down before the advancing wall of dwarves. However, the prince knew this would not last. The grumblings of the elder warriors was unusually high. It seemed as though they could merely sense some impending doom. Worst yet, so could Gorn. "These tunnels smell wrong," one of the veterans chimed. "Makes my beard itch." This sent the unit into a slight chuckle, with one of the other graybeards speaking up. "Well, maybe you should bathe this year." The humor was cut short by a stern look from Gorn. "Hold, I hear something unnatural." His voice was cut short by the sight of demons pouring forth from every entrance. "To me, brothers! We must hold the line for the Hammerfell!" Shields were placed, oath stones dropped, and the battle songs sung. As the dwarf line shifted into a full iron wall, the prince called to one of his miners. "Take your unit and fall back to the hold's entrance. Place blasting charges as you go." The miner was about to protest before Gorn continued. "If anything but a dwarf returns, collapse the tunnels and seal the gate." If this darkness he had been feeling was true, nothing could be left for chance. In victory or death, they would hold. So here is our underground tunnel. I know it looks a little green, but we only have one piece of felt, so you'll have to imagine. As far as the terrain pieces go, the two items on either side are impassable, as is the stonework in the back right in front of my opponent. The small bits of stone stalactite there are obstacles, basically like a wall. And the marsh there is representing a water hazard. It's normal, not mysterious, so you can't march over it, and it negates rank, stuff like that. So pretty bare. We didn't have a whole lot of terrain on this one, so should be plenty of room. And of course the dwarves have castled right around the entrance to this cavern, and we'll see where we go from here. This game, in some ways, is very interesting because it shows the downside of playing with closed lists, as I think we both were expecting the other to bring something decidedly different, and we were both kind of put off when we saw what got placed in front of us. So, on the left, the dwarves have a unit of 30 longbeards with full command and shields. Behind that is Smith Doric Grodson. On the Anvil of Doom, he has a shield, Master Rune of Balance, a double rune of Spell Breaking, and a rune of Stone. Next to that is a Flame Cannon with Rune of Forging and the Stalwart rune. And the unit in front is 30 Iron Breakers with full command, Cinder Blast Bombs, and 2 runes of Slowness. On the other side of that is a second Flame Cannon with the Rune of Forging on it as well. So he has no traditional cannons at all, just runes of forging. And in that large group in the center, he has Prince Gorn Odhein on an Oathstone with 2 runes of Might, 3 runes of Warding, a rune of Stone, a rune of Striking. He also has a shield and a pistol. And a unnamed Thane, who is his BSB, with the Master Rune of Groth One Eye, a shield, and 2 runes of battle. And then over on this side, being slowly snuck up on by that 3 bases of Nurglings, is a 20-man Thunderer unit with full command and shields. Now my list is very different from what I usually run, because this was designed to be just random demons who came pouring out of portals, so I went for as many different presences of different types of demons as I could. So we have my general on the end there, who is a Bloodthirster of Khorne. He has an Exalted Gift, which I rolled the doubly blessed. So the first thing I defaulted to the Eternal Blade. The second gift I got gave him Multi-Wound 2. And his lesser gift that he also had was 2-up ward save versus the first wound. Next to that is a 10-man horror, pink horror of Tzeentch unit with full command, and they have the gleaming pennant next to them. Next to that is the skull cannon of Khorne. And then you see a unit of 20 Plague Bearers of Nurgle with full command and the Banner of Swiftness. Hanging out with them is a Herald of Nurgle with a lesser gift of the Always Strikes First sword and a second lesser gift that gave him multiple wounds too. Next to that is a very thin unit of 6 Chaos Furies to mark Slaanesh. Next to that is a Soul Grinder with Mark Nurgle. It has the Demon Bone Claw upgrade as well as the Flame Cannon Baleful Torrent upgrade. Next to that is a 20-man unit of Demonettes of Slaanesh with an full command and the Standard of Discipline. And you can't quite see it, but between the Soul Grinder and the Demonettes of Slaanesh is the Mask of Slaanesh. Then on the far side, the blue scribes there on the end is standing in for a Herald of Tzeentch on a disc. He has the greater gift Soul Eater. He's also a level 2 caster to the lore of Tzeentch. And so, much to my opponent's chagrin, demons get first turn, and the game starts off each round under these Darkest Depths rules. In addition to your range being shortened, random stuff happens, and the first thing that happens is stalactites start dropping from the ceiling, and one dropped right on that Ironbreaker unit and killed one of the Ironbreakers first thing. Also in these rules, any creature that uses a fly speed takes a dangerous terrain whenever they move. So, during my first move of the first turn, my Herald of Tzeentch moves forward, fails his dangerous terrain, and then fails his ward save, so he takes a wound there. So everything else on this side, my Bloodthirster goes up quick because I want to get him into that Anvil of Doom. It's got to die if I'm going to have any chance to do any magic this game. Everything else is pretty casual. They move up a little bit. Obviously, the Furies go forward, and the reason I have them in that 2x6 is I want to hit that Flame Cannon with them and not run the risk of hitting any of the other units. So this will let me hit that Flame Cannon, kill it, and push on through to get behind his lines. So that's the ultimate aim here. And I just want to get... I have Blue Fire, I think it is, with the Pink Horrors. And between them and the cannon, I just want to do as much damage to that Longbeard unit as I can. And then on this side, I'm basically just holding my lines strong. And the Soul Grinder has a great flamethrower shot right down the middle at those Ironbreakers, so I'm willing to do that at him as long as he'll let me. Strangely enough, with the kind of unusual list he's bringing, I think I have a Dwarf army outranged, which is very, very disturbing. So my magic and shooting accomplishes exactly nothing. So we go into Dwarf turn 1, and again the turn starts with stalactites dropping, and one drops right on his flame cannon and kills one of the crew there. And so he chooses not to move at all, and going into shooting, these Thunderers end up taking out my Herald of Tzeentch before I can do anything. So then he throws one of the flame cannons basically right at the mask, and she gets hit but succeeds her 3-up ward save. The other one he sends right down the line between the Plague Bearers and the Chaos Furies, and ends up doing 2 wounds to each unit with that. So we go into Demon turn 2, and we discover that being underground is not healthy for dwarves. This time 3 stalactites drop. One of them kills a Thunderer, and 2 of them drop down on the flame cannons, 1 on each, and each one loses another crew from that. So these rocks are just pummeling these poor dwarves to death. And it wouldn't be too bad if they were hitting the big units, but they're hitting the crews on these cannons and just getting rid of them. And it's I almost feel bad for my opponent at this point. So of course, first thing I do is Bloodthirster has got to go into that Anvil of Doom. He needs to die, and that will not only net me a ridiculous amount of points this early in the game, but help me get a magic phase back now that the only spellcaster I have are the pink horrors. In the center here, I also succeed sending the 4 remaining Furies into the cannon that only has a single crewman left. And over here, I send the Nurglings who had been sneaking up on the side into the flank of the Thunderers, hoping that I can start winnowing them down and at very least stop them from shooting anything else, because it's going to take a while for them to take out those Nurglings, particularly if he's not willing to reform and give flank to something else that's coming. And here in the center, everything else is just coming forward. I want these units to be within easy charge range, particularly the stuff that's around the water, since I can't march through it. And he's not coming out to get me, so I'm going to have to go get him with any of these melee units, and I'm okay with that. Between shooting and magic, I did a couple wounds to the Longbeards, nothing to speak of. Oh, and I also, this picture reminded me, I also charged the mask into the flame cannon. She'll easily eat that flame cannon, and she's close enough now to use her dance to lower the strength of the Thunderers here, which is going to make it even harder for them to kill the Nurglings. That being said, really everybody kind of fluffed in that fight. So the Nurglings, I think the Nurglings lost and ended up losing 2 wounds. Excuse me, 2 wounds from the demonic instability test. I think I may have killed 1 Thunderer. It was pretty pathetic. So over on this side, we see that the Bloodthirster has killed the Rune Lord on the Anvil, and we see the Chaos Furies stopping to strike a pose after they destroyed the flame cannon on this side. Obviously, the Longbeards are immune to psych, so they're not going to panic from either of those destructivenesses. But I do turn the Bloodthirster around to look at this group, I think. And then it turned out that the mask didn't actually kill the cannon crew, so she stuck there. So we go into Dwarf turn 2, and again we start off with the freaking the freaking stalactites and their mission to kill all dwarves. Apparently the hatred for dwarves even extends into the very bedrock itself, as another stalactite drops down on the unit of Ironbreakers here, killing 1 more. So as he has no shooting or magic left, we go into combat, and things start off with the mask killing off the final flame cannon crew and turning to face the Thunderers here. So we go into Demon turn 3, and for the first time no one is killed by falling rocks. But the mask and the demonettes here charge into the Thunderers. They may be able to hold out for a little while just from the grind, but there's a lot of attacks coming in there, and I'm eventually going to be able to wear that unit down. I should. Half my freaking army is sitting in it right now. Then on this side, I charge the Bloodthirsters at the back of the the Longbeards, and the cannon and Plague Bearers into the front, and only the cannon and the Bloodthirster make it. So I'm still not sure how this is going to turn out. I think those Longbeards, even with their strength 4, it's going to have a hard time hurting either of those things, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to quickly get rid of enough bodies to turn this into anything other than a grind. And I've played against the dwarves enough to respect them in a grind, even if it doesn't necessarily look like they're able to handle it. Then over here in the center, because I didn't really want to charge the Soul Grinder in at those Ironbreakers on his own, I'm starting the very slow move across the little bit of the edge of the water I'm in there to get a little closer since I can't march. The other thing to keep in mind is the last turn. One of the other rules for this is pitfalls, and on your opponent's turn you can roll a die on a 4-up. You can nominate a unit that he has that will suffer dangerous terrain if it charges, pursues, what have you. So I've been nominating this Ironbreaker unit, And frankly, my opponent is very afraid of dangerous terrain, and it's kind of holding him steady there in the middle because he just doesn't want to risk it. Then on this side, I don't even know what I'm doing with these pink horrors. They're just kind of moving up, hoping they can get a line of spell on something, but they're pretty worthless this whole game. So we go into shooting, and I do the flame cannon with the soul grinder and just totally overshoot it. It only ends up with the back end like tickling the iron breakers here, and I only kill, I think it's 2 guys that I kill. It really was kind of pathetic. And over here, the combat was a lot less one-sided than I thought. I only killed 3 Thunderers, and he kills 2 Demonettes. So I think he loses, but it's not by very much. And because everything in the universe of the Dwarves is stubborn, he's not going anywhere and is still tying up an awful lot of points. And over here, the Bloodthirster just kills a boatload of Dwarves. The cannon does some on impact hits, but not much more past that. So I think they're down to 1 rank and some change. But again, they're stubborn. They're not going anywhere. So we go into Dwarf turn. He doesn't move, so we go straight to combat. Over here, I start breaking through a little. I think I kill 6 more Thunderers. He only kills 3 Demonettes. Again, winning, but he's stubborn, so it really doesn't matter since the BSB with the stubborn banner is 3 inches from him. Then on this side, we just get a ridiculous amount of flub. My Bloodthirster's just not hitting anybody at all. He ends up taking another wound, so he's got 2 wounds on him. The cannon, by the end of this, I don't remember how many of this is wounds and how many of this is demonic instability, because the Dwarves actually win this fight. But he ends up with 5 out of... No, that can't be right. He can't be on 5 wounds. He takes some wounds. I think the die got knocked there, but like just out of nowhere, the Dwarves were fighting back kind of hard, and it really has me starting to get a little concerned, because that Bloodthirster he might have 2 or 3 wounds on him at this point, because I think he got hit with a stalactite at the start of the turn. So I really need to get the Plague Bearers in there, and maybe even the Chaos Furies, just to start throwing some more dice, because another turn of bad flubbing like that, and he could accidentally grab a lot of points. So we go into Demon turn 4, and I succeed in throwing everything I possibly can at this unit. Actually, I think with those dice, now that I'm thinking about it, those were probably markers to determine whether either of those things would be hit by stalactites this turn. I don't think they were, but the Demon does have a couple of wounds off of him, and I think the cannon does too at this point. But I'm sending almost a full unit of Plague Bearers with another character in there. Now it's just a matter of time before those Longbeards get eaten. And this shot I took just to prove that even in a friendly game, I can be a little bit of a dick sometimes. I moved up the Soul Grinder and then faced it this way so that he's got no way to bring those Iron Breakers into the flank of this fight and help out the Longbeards. His only real choice now is to charge the Soul Grinder and take it out, and then he'll have to reform. And in general, it's going to tie that unit up for a lot longer than those Longbeards have to live. So we go into shooting, and the Soul Grinder does... I don't remember if he does the Flame Cannon or the Grape Shot Cannon, but I end up killing 4 Iron Drakes... Or not Iron Drakes, Iron Breakers out of that big unit as well. And then in combat, I finally finish eating the Longbeard unit and turn to face the Iron Breakers. And at this point, it's just kind of cleanup time. He really, even if he was being more aggressive at this point, I just don't think he has enough left on the board to handle what I'm about to throw at him. And then in combat over here, I I think there's one or two Thunderers left, and I can't break the damn things because he's still within range of the Stubborn Banner. So everybody's kind of crowding in there, trying to be able to get their licks in. The problem is now is there's so few of them, I'm losing attacks, and I'm not able to kill as many of them as I need. See, I don't think anything happened in the last dwarf turn, so this shows my movement on my turn. I think this is turn 5. And basically I'm setting up for just a nasty surround and beat down of this Plague Bearer unit, or not Plague Bearer unit, the Iron Breakers, and I've just moved my Plague Bearers out so I can line up everybody, because it would waste me an extra turn getting them to reform. It'd be better to them get out of the way. Then at the end of this turn, I finally kill off the last of the Thunderers, but every one of them in that last group killed a Daemonette before they went down. So, for being totally outmatched by 3 units and probably double plus the number of points, those Thunderers did remarkably well. So we go into Dwarf turn 5, and in an attempt to, and I'm translating from the Dwarvish here, not be a bitch, he decided to run the Iron Breakers into the Soul Grinder. He's pretty sure that his general will be able to finish that Soul Grinder off, and given the way that this particular player builds his dwarf characters, I don't really doubt that. So I think he wants to get him some additional points before it becomes a messy splattering of beards and blood all over this cavern. And as promised, the Dwarf Lord absolutely smokes that Soul Grinder, and the Iron Breakers turn around, and as you can see where they're sitting now, there's only 18 Iron Breakers and the 2 characters left in that unit compared to the vast majority of my army. You can also see where the dead Plague Bearer was. That was what got hit by the Stalactite this turn. And then we go into Demon turn 6, and I throw literally everything I've got at him, except for the Nurglings there. I wanted specifically to get the Mask in there, because she's going to challenge, and her 3-up ward save is going to protect her from that crazy Dwarf Lord who could very easily have killed my Bloodthirster. So after that is over, yeah, it's messy. I think he's got 4 or 5 Iron Breakers left and a couple of characters, and it's pretty much over at this point. There's not really anything that the Dwarf Lord has to get. Oh, and the Dwarf Lord was killed in the challenge by the Mask. He rolled like garbage, and the Mask managed to finish him off, which was a little ridiculous. So here's just kind of a final picture for the end of the battle of the Bloodthirster laying claim to the entrance to the lower areas of the Dwarf Hold. The battle was lost. Any fool could see that, but the dwarves fought onward, singing death songs and placing curses towards the demons. Gorn's force had been lost the moment they stepped into the accursed cavern, and he knew his life would end here. He knew that even if the demons didn't finish them, the scavengers would come soon after. As he felt the blood trickle from his body, he knew his time to join Grimnir would be soon. The glorious death with his fellow dwarves would not happen, though. His body was cut down from behind by one of the foul chaos beings, and he would have laid there, dying on the cold stone, if it weren't for a voice. It seemed to call from within, calling out and saying, "Move! You'll not forsake your duties." As Gorn pulled himself up, the haze of ongoing combat still fresh, he stared down the tunnel towards the lowest gate of the Hammerfell. "My duty?" he questioned. "Your life for theirs. We suffer, so they don't." It was Ogrim, his father, or at very least his last memory of him. And Gorin knew what must be done. His steps through the tunnel were agonizing. Countless bones were broken and various wounds pouring, but on he went. Once he arrived at the center point, he turned to see the wave of chaos rushing towards him. But the dead had purchased him enough time. Looking to his right, Gorn saw the blasting charges that had been placed to collapse the entry. Pulling out his pistol, the Thane spoke softly. "Venerated stone, show these vile creatures the true spite of Grimnir." And as the last words escaped his lips, the pistol let loose, setting off the charges and collapsing the entire tunnel. The demons had won an easy victory with their overpowering force, but a mistake had been made. They had allowed Gorn to become a martyr, and they would soon feel the true, unyielding vengeance of the dwarves. A vengeance that would never be finished so long as chaos existed. So, pretty obvious victory for the Demons of Chaos. This was one of those battles that I just really think was lost pretty much in the list building stage. I think, like I said, this was kind of the weakness of the closed list system, as I expected to deal with more of his normal, like big group of hammerers, lots of cannons, gyrocopters, things like that. So I built a list pretty much with big monsters that I figured half of them would be shot off, and quick units. So I was on him very quickly. Unfortunately, because he went with a different build and thought I was going to have more infantry, I guess, went with the flame cannons and the strength 4 infantry for the most part, and they just didn't match up well. It also didn't help that every rule for this scenario pretty much went out of its way to beat the dwarves upside the head, so it was kind of a mess. It was an interesting game. I'll be very interested to see where Clan Odhein goes now that the Crown Prince is dead. I think Michael has wanted to kind of push them into a very aggressive sort of, these are the end days, let's go out like Grimnir did, throwing ourselves down the throat of chaos. So I think this is definitely a good step in that direction. So all in all, it was a fun game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you would, please subscribe to the channel, like the video below, leave any comments or questions that you have, and if you do as well, we are still looking for topics for the next Narrations and Lamentations with Materim and the Boys. So if you have any ideas, anything that you'd like to hear us talk about, anything you'd like to see on that show, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or send them to Josh L. Merritt, that's MERRITT, @gmail.com. But thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will catch you next time.